Hi guys, this is Lachette with Scarlet Moon Creations, and this is my Witchathon wrap up video. The Ostara Witchathon wrap up. So this round of Witchathon, like previous ones, was just as fun and entertaining and interesting to participate in. As always, thank you so much to Rhiannon at Crescent Moon Reads for putting this together, for creating good prompts, and for picking the good read, even though I wound up not liking it very much. It was still an interesting read, and I had been looking forward to reading a book by this author, though I didn't realize until I was finished that this was that When the Moon Was Ours, and Marie McLemore was the same person who wrote two other books that are on my to be read list. So since this was an older book, and I guess I'm just jumping right into the wrap up part after thanking you, Rhiannon. I am looking forward to the future books. I now have a glimpse of what her writing style is, and the two books on my TBR, Wild Beauty, and I forget what the other one is. Blanca y Roja, I think. But anyway, so those are more recent releases than When the Moon Was Ours. So I look forward to seeing some the things that I didn't like about When the Moon Was Ours slowly drifting away from Marie McLemore's writing style. This book, I believe, was the first book that I've can remember reading with transgender characters. And this is not the first time I've read anything with transgender characters, but the first published book, physical book that I've ever read. So it was nice to read. I really enjoyed the cultural elements. Sam's family, Sam and his mother being from, I believe, Pakistan, and Miel and Araceli being Hispanic of some kind. I enjoyed how McLemore weaved in their cultures and just into the story, and their cultural histories, into the magic, the gender identity, and that was just really interesting. I also really love the writing style. I it's just so atmospheric. Like, I can see everything. I feel like I can touch and taste and smell, and just it's just so very sensual. Like the pumpkins in the various colors. I've never seen pumpkins in those colors in real life. I know they exist. I've seen pictures, but it was like I was in the pumpkin fields. Even when they turned to glass, the stained glass coffin, as creepy and fucked up really as that is, it was still beautifully described. The Bonner sisters' hair, just everything from their houses, the water tower, the river, just people's clothing, everything was just so richly described and not heavily, just very sensually. So I felt like I can feel it all, I can experience it all, and I am glad to hear from the live stream that more of that is in Moore's other books. So overall, though, I gave When the Moon Was Ours 2 stars because I love magical realism. I do. I've never had a problem with it before. This is the first time. It felt put on. It felt like a plot device often. It was so unnecessary, to the point where the Bonner sisters, to me, were really unnecessary to the book. The sort of coming of age of Sam and Miel, understanding their relationships with themselves, with their families, with their cultures, with the town, and with each other, was interesting enough all on its own without all this magical stuff. Some things were clarified for me in the live stream, in the fact that I was told that some things we don't get answers to, and like why the pumpkins were turning to glass. Also, someone made a point to, well, putting that way sounds weird, but someone raised the point that the roses coming out of Miel's were kind of a metaphor for how, or showing how she was how she was feeling. They were an expression of her emotions, a physical growth, and that is really interesting and kind of sad given what her parents did to her and the history of her father's family line, with other members of the family having grown roses out of themselves. Here these people are just innocently expressing their emotions in a way that they can't really control, and they are feared by their own family. So there's that. So yeah, overall, not a horrible book, but not one I definitely want to really recommend too much, except for, like I said, the transgender rep and just the writing style. But yeah, so moving on. That was the group read. I just wanted to get out the way, and I didn't realize I was talking so long about it. I do want to say I did. Okay, I did my counting. I did 4.5. I read 4.5 books, but I hit all 7 prompts. If you watch my vlogs, especially part 1, I definitely went outside tons. The week of Witchathon, the weather was great. Day 3, 2 or 3, it was 67 degrees out of nowhere. I could have been outside in less clothing than I was. I was actually overheated and sweating a little bit that day because the thickness of my clothing was too much for that weather. I went to the botanical gardens. I went to a local park, and it was just awesome. So I hit that. That was challenge number 5, to read outside in a nice spot. And let's see. Ostara is a time of rebirth. So, other books I read. My romance book, Burn Bright by Patricia Briggs, I absolutely loved. And I go into detail about this book in my vlog part 2. And just a quick synopsis, this is part of her Alpha and Omega series, which follows Charles the Alpha and Anna the Omega. And in this particular one, Charles is temporarily in charge of the Morox pack, and that partially consists of taking care of the wildlings, which are strong yet dangerous werewolves. And yes, there are werewolves in this. And They are strong because they're powerful. Some of them are really long-lived, or probably all of them actually. And they're dangerous because they have some sort of assuming mental disability, or things like PTSD and stuff like that. We find out that one of the wildlings has been attacked and they die, so Charles and Anna goes up the mountains to find out what's going on with the wildlings, and things get crazy from there. They find out about a traitor, and then things get even more crazy and violent from there. So this series does have violence and action, but from my memory, not as much as is in this particular book, which is why, anyway, this also fit for prompt number 6, which was to pick an action-packed read. So that's 2 more prompts covered. I think I gave this a 4 stars, but I loved it. I enjoyed it. The relationship between Anna and Charles, as always, is super interesting. And they see the world differently, but have learned by this point to work together. And we see some of the extended pack a little bit differently, and we learn about the wildlings. There's some magic, like witchcraft, skinwalker, and fey magic, all 3 different types in this, so that was nice as well. The witches are the bad guys in this particular one, unfortunately, but still got some witches in with Witchathon, so yay. Next I read Pick a Book with Flowers on the Cover. So I don't have the group read with me, but I didn't realize until I picked it up from the library that it had flowers on the cover. So that book, Burn Bright. Look at all these lovely flowers on the cover. That covered it as well. However, the official book that I read for this prompt was 50 Houseplants for a Healthy Home. And this is a really great book. I am going to probably buy this. I talk more about it again in my vlog for day 2, but it's very informative and has a good variety of different types of houseplants, flowering, vines, leafy plants, herbs, and then a variety of healthy uses, some to clean the air, some to help improve your sugar levels or promote healthy skin, help with symptoms of the cold and flu or gastrointestinal stuff, increasing daytime or nighttime oxygen, or increasing humidity, and then various ways you can use them. Some you make into a tea or a tincture or a decoction to take internally. Others you use the leaves or the roots or whatever to put topically on your skin. Still others you just have to put them in a room. There's the to help with the air. I forget what it's called, but it's a lily. And that one in particular I found interesting because it helps remove mold from the air. So it's often recommended to put in your bathroom, which is nice because bathrooms don't always have good air moisture and that kind of air circulation. I don't know why I said moisture. I'm trying to find this plant, but so yeah, it's just a really good book. The Peace Lily. There we Many of us have probably seen this, but yeah, it removes airborne mold, so it's good to put hanging up in your bathroom, since there's so much moisture in that kind of room. And I believe I gave that book 5 stars. Again, it had flowers on the cover. I also read the sections of this book I said I would, houseplants and plant care. This is a huge book and even more of a reference, so not really good for what do you call it, reading for a readathon. But I read the growing from seed section, which gave me ideas of how to grow from seed in individual pots versus the pods that I use, that you saw me use in the vlog. And offsets and plantlets. I have an aloe vera plant that I need to offset and repot the plantlets that have grown, so that was really helpful because I wasn't sure, I didn't want to destroy my pot really. So yeah, this I read as well to cover the flowers on the cover book. Now, lastly, I did not get to finish Norma Jean. It's a biography about Marilyn Monroe by Fred Lawrence Giles, and I'm about a third of the way through. I will finish this because it is interesting. This book I picked up to fit the first prompt. Pick a book from a genre you don't normally read. Biographies I don't normally read, but I did want to start getting into them, and this was a nice intro. So far I enjoy it. I am thinking I'm not a huge fan of Giles' writing style necessarily. It seems like he's trying to convince people to think better of Norma Jean, aka Marilyn Monroe, and I never thought badly of her, so this is kind of heavy-handed to me so far. But otherwise, I like just knowing about her life. It's interesting. Also, this book fits the prompt for read a book set in a warm climate. I did not know that Miss Norma Jean is originally from the Los Angeles, Hollywood area. I think county, if not town. But, you know, like I said, I'm only a third of the way through this. She has never really lived so far from LA County. So that fits this prompt, which, even though I didn't finish the book yet, I'm counting because unfortunately I did not get to the book I picked for my warm climate prompt, which is Midnight Crossroads. I did enjoy it. I did enjoy Norma Jean, and I do plan on reading this. So, yeah. I enjoyed this Witchathon so very much. Thanks again to Rhiannon for putting it together. I've realized that participating in Witchathon during these certain sabbats has sort of become kind of a way for me to celebrate through books. Each of these prompts highlights a lot of the things that are important about the season and the holidays during these times of year. So doing that, reading, which is a favorite pastime of mine, marrying it with my spirituality, with witchcraft and the holidays that I do celebrate, has become really nice. I enjoy this, and I can't wait for the summer solstice Witchathon because my favorite holiday and season is coming up next. I hope you enjoyed following me on this journey. Let me know if you read any of these books, and or if you're interested in any of them now. And I will see you guys in the next Witchathon, or more recent, more soon than that, Zodiacathon. So yeah, Bye.